Good afternoon, Alana. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, I'm Miss Butler. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of meeting before. All right.
Nice to meet you.
All right, thank you. Miss Ryan said that she wanted me to talk with you about your dress today. She said that you were wearing a shirt that had midriff showing. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to make sure and talk through the process with you and make sure you understand what our rules and expectations for dress code requirements are here at Monacan High School. All right.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this pamphlet with you, and this pamphlet actually outlines all of the rules, and then it also goes through all the what it means in terms of discipline, in terms of repeated offenses, so that you understand completely the entire dress code process. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start with your name. Can you spell it for me? Based on your last name, your administrator would be Miss Romig, right? But she's not available today, so you and I are going to have a conversation, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I just want you to know that anytime you can talk to your administrator about this, right? Even months later, if you still feel uncomfortable about this interaction, if you want to have a conversation with an administrator, you can ask for me or you can ask for Miss Romig directly, all right?
Okay.
And you can also speak to your counselor. So there won't ever be a time, like even during this conversation, if you feel like you want your counselor, you can always ask for them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So according to this, it just asks us to complete the student information section, which we have. Okay? Is there anything on there that I might have written incorrectly?
No.
Okay, awesome. All right, so the second point or bullet point on the checklist says that with your input, we need to look at pages 3 and 6 to identify the issue, the concern. Now, Ms. Ryan mentioned that you had a midriff. Okay, so we want to make sure we look at the rules, and these are all the rules for students for dress at Monacan High School, but we want to focus on the one of concern. Okay, all right, and it says if you read through, they have ripped jeans, they talk about headgear, they talk about necklines, they talk about tights, shorts, and here's the one that talks about shirts and blouses. Okay, so this is the one that directly relates to what we're talking about. It says that shirts or blouses must be of sufficient length. Okay, so we're talking about how long your shirt is, and that they must be tucked into the waistband. All right, bare midriffs must not be visible, so we should not be able to see your midriff. Now, do you know what we mean by midriff? What part of the body we're talking about?
Like here or wait, no.
Okay.
Wait, here?
Okay, no, so we're not
No.
talking about the chest part. We're actually talking about below the chest area.
yeah.
All right, so that's a good point. So sometimes students aren't sure what area we're talking about, so that's the reason why we go through this. All right, so we're asking, like, if you have a shirt that does not cover like your belly button, all right, that you definitely that means that it's insufficient length. It's not long enough. All right.
Yes.
All right. So that's the situation that we have. So if we look at your outfit, what Miss Ryan was addressing was she wanted you to have a longer shirt on. Okay. All right. All right, and then it says it also includes muscle tops, tank tops, sleeveless jerseys, tube tops, halter tops, spaghetti strap tops, and they're not considered appropriate. But we don't have an issue with that. Our issue, and I'm going to circle it, is bare midriff. Okay, so based on what she said, based on what I see here, do you agree that that you're wearing a midriff today?
Yes.
Okay, so based on the requirements we've read over and we've identified the area of focus. Okay, all right. So let's go back to the checklist and see what else we can find out. They're asking me to explain the school stance on dress code. All right, so let's talk about that. According to this, on page 2, it says the attire should reflect a positive attitude toward the school environment and the self. All dress code infractions are considered insubordination. All right, so and the reason why that they're considered insubordination is because we ask you guys to read, review, and to sign the code of conduct, and dress code is a part of it. Okay, so what we do in addition to asking you to read, review, and sign is to we try to use the pamphlet as another tool of reteaching, because we just had an example of you weren't really sure what I meant by midriff. So it helps that we had a one-on-one conversation. So now you know exactly what we mean by bare midriff. Okay? All right. So it also says that insubordination is an individual's choice not to follow a prescribed set of rules through actions. Repeated acts of insubordination are considered defiance. Okay? So that just lets you know that we consider insubordination as knowing what the rule is and choosing not to follow it. But defiance is repeatedly doing that thing, knowing and not complying. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So part of it is also letting you know how we feel about it. Okay? All right. So we've taken care of those 3 things on the list. It also asks me to explain escalating consequences. So what happens to a person if they were in violation of the dress requirements, okay? So that's going to be the next part. All right, this says that students who violate expectations will, one, so there's several parts to this, always be allowed an opportunity to correct the infraction. So the first thing I want to ask you is, do you have another shirt that you could possibly wear?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's the first thing I'll ask you to do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you had said, no, I don't have another shirt to wear, then I would give you some options, all right? It says that the students can opt to either wear their school supplied sweats. So if I ask you if you have something, you say no, then I can offer you what I have, okay? And the student may also call a parent or guardian for a change of clothes. So you'll always have an opportunity to call your parent and ask them for something if you like, okay? The second thing is the student always receives a consequence. Now, sometimes that makes kids a little bit nervous. They're like, well, but I have a shirt to put on. Okay, that's fair. I appreciate that. And we want you to choose to wear something different if you have it. Okay, once you realize that you are in violation, after going through the pamphlet and identifying if you actually have something, yeah, we're going to offer you the opportunity to change. But I still need to make sure that we have a conference, and this actually counts as the conference. We're having a conversation about the rules and the expectations. But we also have to make sure we talk to your parents. So I never talk to a student and give a consequence without letting their parent know. All right. So this entire conversation I will share with your parent. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Some other things that it says that the student will always receive a consequence to include a parent contact and at least one of the following. So you may have a conference only, or you may have in-school detention, after-school detention, or out-of-school suspension. Now, that's out-of-school suspension is a high escalation for dress code. Usually by the time the student has had a chance to call their parent and talk with them, they don't choose to go. It doesn't escalate that far, but I have to give you the ultimate. I have to give you the top. All right. So the lowest would be just having a conversation, but the highest would be if our conversation didn't go very well and it escalated, or if we have to have repeated conversations about it. Okay. But these possible consequences, these escalating consequences, apply for every single rule that we have. We start at the very lowest and we see what we can do, but depending on student choices, we may or may not have to escalate. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we've talked about escalating consequences, and you mentioned, it says the next thing I should do is offer you an opportunity to correct the infraction. You said that you have another shirt and you would be willing to change.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll highlight that as something that we're going to do. And then on this side, I will mark that we had a conference, and then I'll mark that the student can opt to either wear a school supplied or the student may call a parent. In this case, you have your own change of clothes. All right, so I'm just highlighting the things that we discussed. That way, when I speak to your mom about it, we'll say the same thing. And I also encourage you to do the same, but talk to your parent about what we talked about today. All right?
Okay.
All right, and then the next thing is we're going to make sure confirm that the student is aware of the specific violation and the consequences. So on this student confirmation section, all right, you're going to read through and you're going to fill in the empty spaces, okay? So I'm going to give you the pen and let you do that. So if you don't mind, if you read it out loud, all right, and then we'll fill it in, all right?
Okay. Says as of today's date.
All right, and you can put today's date down. It is the 23rd of August, so 8/23.
This is my.
And it asks you for a number. So, and the rest of it says dress code violation. When we talked earlier, you said you had never been in the office for this before. Is that correct? All right.
Yes.
So this would be your first dress code violation. All right. Do you understand why we want to keep track of how many you've had?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think we want to keep track of it?
So, like, if you do it again, then you know what punishment you should get.
Excellent. That's exactly why. All right. All right. You can continue reading right there.
I understand that I have violated school dress requirement.
By doing what?
By
What was the issue today? What did we highlight and what did we circle?
wearing a midriff.
Okay, so that's what you want to fill in there. Awesome. Then in continue it says,
I have spoken with
so they're asking you, who did you talk to about it? So do you remember my name?
Butler.
Yep, that's who you spoke to. Awesome. All right, and then if you want to continue, it says,
And I am aware of school expectations of dress and potential consequences. I am aware that, oh gosh,
right here. It's all right.
no, that I may speak with administrator/counselor regarding this matter and the consequences.
Okay, so before you sign, I just want to make sure that that is true. Are you aware of the school expectations? Do you feel like I could explain what we want our students to do here?
Yes.
Okay, do you fully feel like you understand what the consequences are based on those expectations?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, and do you understand that at any time, all year long, even next year if you want, you can ask to speak to an administrator or counselor about this meeting we just had?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, then you feel free to sign if you truly understand.
In person?
Sure. Use whatever handwriting makes you feel comfortable.
Oh no.
Awesome, you did a great job. So I just want to close by checking with you. Do you feel that you were respected through this process?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. If at any time you don't feel that you've been respected, please let us know, okay? Because that's the purpose. It's not to come down on you, it's to make a correction, all right? Now, you said you would change. One thing that I would like to emphasize is making sure that in the future, if you're at home and you're getting ready and you have this midriff shirt to wear, the one that you wore today or a different one, that you think about choosing something different, okay? So in the end, it's not about a consequence for right now, because we've taken care of right now. But for the future, this would happen during the school day. We don't want you to lose instructional time over dress code, okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so what I'll do is, according to the pamphlet, we're going to retain the first part. So I keep the part that you signed and has all the information, and I'll contact your mother and let her know everything that went on today. But then I'm going to separate and give you the requirements that we circled and we discussed. So if your mom asks, well, let me see what the rules are, you can actually show her this. And then also, this is just a quick, handy way to look at it. Like, this is a female student, and it's showing her with a midriff, and it's showing that that's a no, that's unacceptable. So this is the unacceptable side, and this is the acceptable side, okay? All right, and then there's a rule if ever you need one to measure something. Like if you're at home and you're like, is this shirt long enough? Is this skirt long enough? You actually have a ruler that you can use with the requirements, okay? Does that sound like fair?
But what if you wear like a tank top under it?
Take time. So if it's completely covered, and that's a very good question, and I can't see your midriff at all, then that would be complying with the rule.
Okay.
All right? That's fair. And you know what I think a good point is, if ever you're thinking about wearing something, you're not sure, feel free to ask an administrator about it, okay?
Okay.
All right, so that's a proactive way to make sure that there is no issue about your dress code, okay? We will never be turned away, all right?
Okay.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to meet you and work with you.
You too.
All right, awesome.